everybody, this is Michelle with Creative Operation and Country Craft Creations. I want to share with you the process that I used to make this layout. This is a 12 by 12 layout that I used. My scraps from Simple Stories, Simple Vintage Berry Fields paper collection that I just had in my design team package. And I had just very little scraps of paper. You're going to see kind of what I had left over. And what I was able to do was add some red and blue artisan cardstock with some scraps, made some ephemera here, used my enamel dots that were left over, some tags that were left over from the collection, and created this really pretty layout. So let me take you to the video and I'll show you how I did it. Okay guys, I'm going to show you the process. So I started doing this and I thought, well, I'm going to stop and come back and kind of talk you through how I'm doing this. And I just kind of had an idea. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to create a layout. So like I said, I started and then I thought, well, I'm going to stop. I'm going to go through like kind of my process and kind of show you. You can see I don't have many, leftovers from my Simple Stories, Simple Vintage Berry Fields papers. I just have like lots of bits and pieces. I have a couple pieces of ephemera, have some of the tags left over from the paper collection, a few bits of the cut aparts, and some of the ribbon and seam binding and twine. So what I thought I'd do is try and make a layout with all of this, and so I've this is my process. So you guys get to see the messy desk and actually watch me create as I'm creating. Now I did, like I said, start this. I only had a few strips of paper that were long enough to kind of have this kind of woven idea that I had. So we're going to go with it. I hope it turns out. So you guys are going to see the process. Yeah, so this blue artisan cardstock is navy, and I cut it down to 11.5 by 11.5. I want to make sure I did that. Yeah, 11.5 by 11.5. I'm going to use a piece of red artisan cardstock behind it because I didn't have enough of the cardstock that I got with a design team package. So that's going to be a red border underneath, and then I'm going to have this blue. And then so what I did was I took my strips and I cut them to 11 inches. And what I'm trying to do is weave them. You can kind of see I've started doing it. This one here isn't, I kind of stopped so I could show you what I'm doing. So if you can see up here, when I first started, I laid this strip down. I glued it underneath here just in the corner so that I can continue weaving. Then I added this strip, and you can see that on this one, I just glued on this corner, and then I put it on top, and then I glued here. I laid this strip down. So that's how I'm kind of doing this. I cut the strips at 11 inches. And so I started with like my horizontal strips here, 1/4 of an inch in and a 1/2 inch down. And then with my vertical strips, I did a 1/2 inch in and then a 1/4 of an inch down. And that way I kind of have that overlap at the top. So you can kind of see, a peek of the paper behind. So that's kind of where I started, and I'm going to have roughly a 1/4 of an inch in between. So then I'm just going to do a few more vertical strips because honestly, I didn't have a whole lot left over. So since this vertical strip is underneath this horizontal strip, I'm going to put this one on top. So I've already glued that down, and then I'm just going to slip that underneath. And what I'll need to do is kind of lift this up and add some glue under there. So that gets that vertical strip stuck down, and then I can lift this up and put a little glue here and stick that one down. So now I've got that particular piece glued. So then I have my next strips that I cut. And again, this is pretty much what I had of strips that were long enough to do this idea. So this red one here, this one's going to go underneath like this. And we're going to look at the bottom here. Let me kind of make sure that you can see what I'm doing. So what I'm trying to do is go a 1/4 of an inch up, about a 1/4 of an inch in between. This one will go on top. And this one here, since it's at the end, I want to try to get a 1/2 an inch in and a 1/4 of an inch up. So I'm going to actually lay this one down first, and I'm making sure that I've got my weaving correct. And I'm going to grab my ruler, and I'm just going to line that up at the 1/2 inch mark so I can see kind of where to lay that down. And then we're going to kind of go from there. The middle measurements in between these strips might be a little bit off, but that's okay because I'm going to lay some stuff over top of it. So honestly, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. So I'm just going to put a little glue on the bottom of that. And I've got this lined up at 1/2 inch from this side. And then I'm just going to go here 1/4 inch from the bottom and kind of make sure that's kind of sort of straight there and glue that part down. Now that's just basically glued onto that bottom piece. So I'm going to have to add some glue there, you know, to kind of reinforce that. Okay. Then I'll go under here, and of course I probably should have done that first, but I'm just going to put a little bit of glue. I don't need a whole lot because everything else is going to kind of stick it down. And I'm just kind of lining that up. Okay, like so. So I've got the bottom done. And then I'll need to tuck this guy underneath like so. So if we did it kind of the proper way, then I would go under here, glue that one down, and then glue this one down here. Okay. And then we'll glue this one down under there, and then pick this up and glue that here. Okay, so now I've kind of got a woven background. I am not going to really worry about gluing those strips down right now. Then part of my process was, well, let me show you this first. So I got the blue here. The navy is 11.5 by 11.5. So that's going to lay on top of a red, okay, for that layout. So we could go ahead and glue that down. And you guys are seeing my process. I really don't have much of a plan. I had a plan for the background, and when I started doing it, and I thought, well, maybe I'll just video, let you guys see how I think about things. So then, yeah, I went through, after I kind of figured this part, kind of thought about this part, I went through my scraps of my cardstock that I had left over and saw what I had for photo mats. Okay, so I didn't have much. That's for sure. I did not have much. So I did have some of the red that I got, Carnival Red, from the design team package, and it happened to be 4 1/4. So I just cut it at 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 to make a photo mat, and then I put the white here at 4 1/8 by 6 1/8, and I'm gonna lay that down. And then when you put the picture down, then you'll have a nice little red-white border here. This piece here I cut to 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, and then this is 3 1/8 by 4 1/8. So I'm going to use those as photo mats. Not quite sure. I think maybe, and again, you guys are kind of seeing how I'm thinking about this. Where did I have? I have a couple of these tags that were cut out. They kind of fit on these extra pieces here, so I thought maybe I would back those on some cardstock and do that, maybe in the corners, and then add a few bits of ephemera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the video right now. I'm going to put this part together, and then we'll go from there and look at decorations. All right, back to my messy desk here and my creative process making this page layout. This is a 12 by 12 page layout. So I've kind of glued down the mats for these. So what I did was I backed this tag onto the cardstock that was left over from my design team package, and I did add seam binding and a little twine here to the top, just as a decoration. This is matted with the cardstock left over, as is this, and then another tag. I used different colors on this one, just to kind of give it a little bit of contrast. And then I had this left over, and I thought this would be really pretty to just add to that. So I'm just going to just put a little bit of glue here and add that to the bottom of that tag. I think it's gorgeous, and I think that, it'll kind of pop some of the color there. Then with some of the, with the leftover ephemera pieces that I have like 2 more left, but I just did a cluster embellishment. And what I mean by a cluster embellishment is that I just take a couple of them, put them how I want them, and then just used a stapler. So I just used my little stapler here and just attached them. And then I can add those to the corners of the pictures as kind of another, you know, little piece of embellishment. So I'm going to put one above and one below, and I'm just going to glue on the edges, on the sides, and down the bottom, so that I can still tuck my picture underneath. And you can do it crooked if you want. You can do it off the page a little bit, off that blue mat if you want. So I'm just going to glue that down, and then that's good to go. And then on my other one here, I'm going to put, I decided I was going to put that one at the top, kind of like that. So I'm just going to put a little glue here. This paper, this collection, I love this collection. It's so pretty. It is busy. And at first, when I started kind of thinking about this layout and stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be too much. But I think, you know, with the paper being busy, with the collection being kind of busy, I think it works, actually. I think I'm really liking it. The other thing that I did, and this is still kind of gluing a little bit, was I had a strip of this, and I wanted to kind of save it because I wanted the mason jars. So what I ended up doing was, I'm going to take that off very carefully. I cut two of them out and kind of layered them together. I had one of those little bits of ephemera, created another little cluster embellishment, and then I added some twine and a button around the one. And this one is going to go down in this corner, kind of right here. Hope you can see that. Yep, you can. So I'm going to go ahead and just glue that one down. Just right in the corner here as another pretty little embellishment. And I do need to trim some of that twine off a little bit. And there you go. The button is from my stash, so I did add that, and that still needs to dry a little bit. But that's how my layout is going to be. So I think it turned out really pretty. I think you could do a couple beautiful summer pictures on this layout. You could put this in an album. It still is flat enough to where you could put it in an album, put it in a sleeve protector if you want to, or, you know, you can get an easel and, you know, display it. And then you can, you know, if you make layouts, you can display them throughout the year or whatever. So that's how I used up some of these scraps. And I am probably going to try to utilize the rest of them and do that. But isn't that pretty? I just think that turned out really pretty. I really like how that went. So, hey everybody, this is Michelle. I'm back, and I wanted to show you some ephemera that I made with these tags that came with the collection. So I had a little bit left over. I remember telling you that I had wanted to fussy cut out the little mason jars, so I did that. I also am going to insert a picture here because I did cut out some pieces of the packaging to use because I was out of the little die cut pieces, the little ephemera pieces. So I made a bunch of tags. So I cut some of these tags out of pattern paper that I had left over. And I had this strip of paper, and I'll put a picture of that in here. Where I had the actual tops of the tags because I had used the other strips for other things. So I used the tops of the tags on the pattern paper pieces and then just created another tag. So like if you look at this one, here is the mason jar that I fussy cut out. Here's the tag topper piece that was left over on the pattern paper. Added a little twine bow, some flowers from my stash. I used up my enamel dots, and then these are the little pieces from the packaging that I layered on there to kind of create some more ephemera pieces. So this made a really cute tag. I think this would be really great for like a gift, for a card, for a scrapbook page, for all kinds of different things. I think this would be really nice to use. Behind it, I used some of the cardstock that I had, and I used one of my scallop punches from like eons ago to create that. It's paper shapers, so it's a 2-inch little scallop tag, and so I just use that to be kind of like almost like a doily kind of thing on the back of that. So here are the tags. So here's a I used up my seam binding, I used up my red twine, I used up my little ribbon there, and here's just another version of that, and I put some enamel dots on there, really cute little bits of the packaging. And I didn't cut all the packaging out because some of it was way too small, but the bigger pieces I did use, and it made great ephemera pieces. Okay, so I'll just keep going. This one was from the chipboard ephemera piece that was already like the layered chipboard that I had used. And so I just cut that out. It was already layered and I just added another little piece to that. But it turned out really super cute, I think. I'm hoping you can see this really well. Another piece from the chipboard ephemera packaging. So yeah, just really cute. Really super cute. Here we go. I'll just kind of show you those. And let's see, let's go to this tag here. So again, and this was the one little die cut piece that I had left over. So that's it. So then I just used up all of those little bits. I used up all my enamel dots. The flowers again came from my stash, so I used a whole bunch of those and just layered, and think it turned out really pretty. This piece was cut out of one of the 2x2 cut aparts, and then I started to run out of flowers, so I had some leaves, and then I just kind of raided my stash of buttons and I used those. So I think that kind of worked really well. This one here as well, I used some leaves and some buttons and a couple of the little packaging pieces on this tag. I didn't want to cover up the image on this tag too much. This button I cut out of the pattern paper that was left over as well. So that's what I did with the tags. And then I had this piece was a 4x4 cut apart behind. And I just went around and fussy cut that edge. This piece was a piece of pattern paper, and I just trimmed it and made it look like a ticket. And then this is the packaging, and then again, buttons with the leaves. So that's another little ephemera piece that would look really cute on a present or something like that. And then what I was thinking, so if you remember this, and I'll put the link down below, this is my first project that I made. It was an ephemera organizer. And I thought, well, you know what? Now I have more ephemera to put in the pockets because I have used some of the ephemera here. But yeah, so now I have some more ephemera to put in the pockets. So if you want to make this, then you know, go to the tutorial and that'll show you that. And then the last thing I wanted to show you is that I had one of the graphic 45 tags left over, and what I ended up doing was making a double-sided kind of tag. This would be great to put in like a journal, you know, into an album. It's an interactive tag because it's double-sided. I took one of the cut aparts, put that there as a pocket, and then I fussy cut out the doily and cut that out and layered that up at the top, so that gave it a little bit more oomph up there. And then I just took two of the tags and just simply put ribbon and twine through there. And then on this piece here, I had a little piece of the red cardstock left, and I had this really cool piece of pattern paper, so I cut that out and then just made a little fold over for photos there. And those just tuck in there. And isn't that adorable? I love how that turned out. On the back here, didn't have any more pattern paper that was big enough, so I used one of the pieces of the cardstock and I made a photo mat here. This is one of the packaging pieces, again, that I just glued on two sides, so you can tuck a photo under there. Little piece of pattern paper here, and I just created a banner in one of the 2x2 cut aparts, a few of the enamel dots. And then that's a pocket as well. Two more tags in there. And you can journal on the back of these tags too. That's what the cool part is about these tags. You can journal on them. You can use them as gift tags. They're really great. And then this was one of the die cuts, a bigger die cut that I had left over, and I just backed it on some of the yellow cardstock that was left over and put that in there as well. So that is the finish, and I smashed the entire pack of my design team package. So this is the Simple Stories, Simple Vintage Berry Fields paper collection, and I have wiped it out. So in this particular video, I made all the ephemera, I made this tag, and I have created this layout as well that you saw at the beginning of the video. So I did pretty good using up all my stash for this particular paper collection. It's done. I have no more left. So thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a great crafty day, and I will see you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.